This video will step through the process of building our ambient music project. So we talked about in the last video about how to automate parameters of your plugins, and also how you can automate the parameters of an input source. So if I add some elements to my input source here, and add some layers and things. Maybe some cathedral reverb here, and we listen to that. I can record. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. I can record some sounds again. So that's a little silly, but you get the idea. And I'm going to play some sounds. Perhaps I'll continue with a different sound over here. I have just another object I can use to record and to improvise. Just to create some simple sounds that I'm going to manipulate in Logic. I can record and improvise. So we talked about ways in which to manipulate audio in lots of different ways. So I can take this and copy it, bring it down to a different track, and explore what it can do on its own. I can use to record and improvise. I can record and improvise. So I can take this loop now, and I can work with that region in terms of tuning. I can transpose it. Right, now that it's an object, so now I'm kind of playing around with different layers and finding ways to make all these things kind of live together. I'm working with text, and I'm just kind of playing around with soundscapes and these the combinations of two layers happening at once. Okay, I also have the recording of my recorder there. I'm going to take that and transpose it down and see what it sounds like. Oops, I think I transposed the wrong thing. Undo. Command Z is your friend. So I'm going to take this down instead to 12 below. Just realized that my cursor pro wasn't on. Sorry about that. Right. So all of these things now have personality and some depth to them, even though they're a little, I don't know, randomly recorded. So once I get some of these things in there, I can bring in some field recordings. Right. I have some cricket sounds that I've recorded over the years, and it's very quiet, but it can serve as a background for my texture. I can turn on my compressor. To try to get more out of that material, I also just found some better volume things down here. So why don't we try that? Sorry, that's from wind. You don't want that. So why don't we bring that back here, right? And sort of work with this as a layer. I can increase the gain of this by sort of building this up over here. So if I take my region, I can boost the gain, presumably. Bring in some other things to excite the texture, right? And we'll go ahead and I can also bring in some layers. So our layers aren't going to be beats at all. They're going to be drones. So that's not really that. So I can bring in something noisy, or I can bring in something a little bit more esoteric. I kind of like that sitar sound, or the drone. And so we're going to bring that in. I can also, of course, apply effects to that, which I will do, and add some bit crushing elements to that. So as I'm sort of playing around at this and improvising, I kind of like the way that this downsampling effect has an effect on the sound as it's manipulated. So I'd like to automate that. So I'm going to go over here into this track, hit the A key to automate, and find the bit crusher and the downsampling knob. And I'm going to automate my downsampling knob with this timeline. And create some movement there. Notice now that my audio is being downsampled, and that's changing over time according to my contours. Right. I can also, of course, add some reverb to this to make it sound like it's coming out of a cave, and some spaces. So let's do cavernous. So in this way, I've recorded some audio that I've used for live input processing. I have some field recordings, and I have some stock drones from this library in the Loops library in Logic. And I'm trying to create about a minute or 2 minutes of ambient music that is not relying upon drum beat, but rather trying to create an ambient texture.